Yo guys, I hope you're all well. Today, I'm going to be showing you the best settings and presets of 2023. I'll start with the settings, explaining each one of them briefly along the way here, and then later in the video, I've got a lot of really clean car designs for you all. And while combining the both of them, it's actually allowed me to get up to number 96 in the entire world right now. So these are definitely good stuff. They work for me, they work for a lot of other people, and they will work for you as well. If you just want to copy my settings, here are the timestamps. But if you want a brief explanation of every setting, feel free to watch through the video. So getting into it now, settings. As far as the first page goes, there's not too much important on gameplay. The only thing that's interesting to note is that game stat display level. Some people in my streams will ask me like, how do I make it say clear ball when it pops up on the screen? And having this on all stats is how that does it, if you're interested. And then the other one is input buffer. If you're getting like lag during game, sometimes you can switch it back and forth. These are two different options, but for me, I leave it on CSTS. Moving into camera settings, most of these you can change a little bit here or there, but for the most part, you want to stay within this range here. Camera shake, that has to be off. Not a single person really uses that. Once you get higher ranked, it makes it so when you hit the ball, your camera starts shaking around and it makes it harder to hit the ball. Next up is field of view. This pretty much shows how much you can see from the left side of your screen to the right. I use 109, but as you see in the background here, I crank it down to 60. Now I can see a lot less, and you want to have this as high as possible just to be able to see more of the field. It allows you to be more aware of your surroundings. I personally use 109. 110 is a little bit too zoomed out for me. It might just be like my little unique thing, but I really like 109. As far as distance, that's how far behind your car that the camera is. I'll stick to 280. It's somewhere right in the middle. All right, and that's something that you'll see a lot is just you don't want to go too far to any extreme. If you go to 400, this is going to be very hard to play with. All right, it would make sense that you could see more of the field, but it's very hard to be precise when your camera is on the moon. So, likewise, the other way, 100, you can, you're being an ant at this point. You're like a hamster, and I wouldn't recommend that either. So I just go somewhere in the middle. 280, that works for me. Some people use 270, 290, but 280 works perfectly for me. Height, this is how far up or down the camera is. Again, right in the middle, 110. As you see, it is in the middle. If I go down, land on the floor, right? This is even more like a hamster here. And then, all the way up and, you're in the sky again. So it's really just about getting there somewhere in the middle. Angle, I have is -3. This is about how the camera is, angled. It's relation to your car here. I have it as -3. Means that I'm looking down on my car and I can see slightly over it. If you do something like this, you can see really over the top of your car, but it makes it awkward when you're trying to flip into the ball, right? And then, the other one was 0, right, on the other side, and makes it so you can't really see if the ball is on top of your car here. And so again, going somewhere in the middle, you get best of both worlds. I have -3, so I was using. Stiffness is an interesting one. This is pretty much how far the camera will move as you are boosting. And so I have it on 0.7. If you put it on something like 0, I'll pick up my controller real quick. Once you start moving, the camera feels very loose, right? If you are going like this, the camera is like kind of moving all over the place, and you might not be able to pick it up, but it's like very fluid. And then it'll be obvious once I turn it up to 1. Right now, it's like it is not moving at all. It is just locked onto the ball. All right, it's a very slight noticeable difference. I personally like to have it somewhere, again, you wouldn't believe it, in the middle, just so that I can tell when I am moving fast. It's nice to have that little bit of a barrier so that when you are just driving in a straight line, it zooms out just a slight bit, and it's enough to let you know that you are accelerating and all that. That's why I find it to be important for. Next up, swivel speed. This is for when you're using your right stick if you're on controller. If you're trying to look at the camera, this is what is going to speed that process up or slow it down. I have it on 6, again, somewhere in the middle. If you crank that up, if you're moving your stick side to side, or if I'm going like this, it is very fast, and it's hard to track. It's hard to actually use your right stick, which is really important for awareness. And then if you slide it all the way down, now it's moving like molasses. And so if someone is to the side of you, you're not actually going to be able to see them. So I like to have it, again, in the middle here on 6. Transition speed, this is the final setting here. I have it on 1.1, and this is a personal thing for me, but a lot of people also use this setting. It is when you're turning ball cam on and off, how fast the camera is going to lock onto the ball. Right? Some people, and you know, I personally could never do it, but some people crank it up to 2, and it's pretty much instant. All right, as you can see, and I feel like this is very disorienting, and especially for newer players. All right, it's very, very, you know, like I said, disorienting. You don't really know where the ball is going to be, all right, if you're just instantly snapping. And invert swivel, this is so that if you push the stick one way, it goes the other way. And I have that checked on, so that if I push the stick left, it's going left. It works either way, but you just have to get used to it. Now, next up, going to controls. Controls here, these are probably the most important settings to get correctly. These are what is going to allow you to maneuver your car in certain ways. And obviously with this game, you know, you have to hit the ball. So hitting the ball where you want it is very important. So first off, steering and aerial sensitivity. I prefer whatever you have these, they should be the same. And that's what works for me. That's what works for a lot of other people. I have it on 1.6. And so pretty much what this means is if I move my left stick here, right, this is where I'm turning. If I'm turning and I barely move it, right, I start turning at this rate. And so pretty much what it's doing is either making it so when you move your stick very slightly, like this here, if I have it on 10 now, if I do the same exact thing, if I move this stick very slightly, I'm going to be turning at maximum speed, right? Full speed, barely touching the stick, and I'm doing like the maximum radius. And I wouldn't recommend this. You have pretty much no control. It's either you are not turning at all, I'm either going in a straight line, or I am turning at full radius, right? Barely hitting my stick and it's moving. And so anything above 2 or 3, I find, especially for new players, it's hard to have the precision, right? Because if I'm doing it like this, normally I can have just the slow turning and then also can go fast. And, you know, it's different obviously for keyboard and mouse, but, you know, if you have the benefit of a joystick, I find that, you know, you should use it, right? You should allow yourself to turn. And the same thing is like that in the air. So if you're jumping and trying to turn, if you're jumping and turning side to side, this is what's going to allow you to turn slower or faster. I can move slow, fast, whatever you want here. So I would very much look into that one. And then next up here is your controller dead zone. This is very interesting. I get a lot of questions about this from people that don't know what it is. It's pretty much how far from the middle you have to move your analog stick for anything to happen. You want to have that as low as possible without your controller malfunctioning, because then it means that you have more room to move your stick around and control it. So I have it on 0.05. That works for me. As a, you know, just showing you how it works here. If it's on 0.75, you'll notice here, if I'm driving in a straight line, I'm trying to turn and nothing's happening. I have to push the stick pretty much all the way until the end here. All right, if I just barely touch it and try to turn, nothing happens. So I have to go all the way to the side to be able to turn. And so trying to find that barrier between not turning and turning, right, is very, very hard the higher you have it up, and it makes you be a lot less precise. And then kind of the same idea as dodge dead zone. It's how far you have to push the stick to flip. And I think this one is important to have higher, because if you have it very low, if you're double jumping while moving the stick, right, it's very easy to backflip. It's very easy if you're trying to go for like a fast aerial of sorts, very easy to backflip there, unless you have to move your stick all the way to the edge. And then in which case, you know, then you aren't going to backflip because you're not going to push your stick all the way to the edge every single time. Then the rest of these are simple enough. Controller vibration, I like to have it off. I don't want to be able to, you know, hit the ball and have my controller start vibrating. Kind of messes me up. Ball camera, that's on toggle. I find that, you know, trying to hold down ball cam doesn't really work for me or most people. And then these are just keyboard and mouse options. I don't plan keyboard and mouse, so I can't really help. I might make a video in the future, right, trying to do some research on keyboard and mouse here. While we're on the control setting, I might as well show my bindings as well. These are what work for me, and a lot of people also use the exact same bindings. All right, I'm on controller, so I'm going to show controller. Drive forwards, the right trigger. Drive backwards, left trigger. That's pretty simple. I don't think anybody really messes with that. Steer left, steer right. That's my left stick. Jump, I have as X, and boost, I have as circle. Some people are starting to use R1 as boost, but I'm blessed to have big thumbs. So as you can see, here, let me switch to here so you can see a little bit better. As you can see, my thumb can just cover all these buttons. So if I'm wanting to press any of them, I can just squish down on it. It works for me. Some people who might have smaller hands, they use R1 for boost so that they can jump and boost at the same time. Or they might use a style called claw, where, again, here, let me go back. They're using their pointer finger to press these buttons, and then, they can push them better here, again, with this on boost. So this is what I use. It depends really on your controller, the size of your hands, that sort of thing. But that doesn't impact the settings too much. Power slide and air roll, both on left bumper. I would really recommend having this bound to the same one, because you can't power slide in the air and you can't air roll on the ground. It's crazy. So if you are trying to power slide, or you can hold it down, and if you jump, it immediately is air roll, back to the ground, you power slide. So it's one of those where you can double bind it just because you can't do both at the same time. All right, and so it kind of saves a button, as well as when you're air rolling and you're landing, you can keep moving, right? You don't have to like press a different button or any of that. Ball camera, I have on triangle. Rear view, I have on square. Again, since my thumbs are big enough, I can just press all 4 of these buttons whenever I want. So ball camera, on, off. Reverse cam, it's very close to each other. It's going to be easily maneuverable for me. That's what I prefer. Air steer right, air steer left. That's the left stick. Up, down, left stick. Air roll right, I have on the right bumper. I could talk for days about this here, but I prefer having a air roll right and a free air roll. I don't have air roll left bound. Like I said, I could talk for days for this, but this is what I use. I find it's important to be able to both not only, free air roll with your left stick, but also just be able to hold down a button and spin. All right, it allows for more control of your car, but you don't necessarily need both, and that's what a lot of top level players do, is they just have one direction. Might make a video talking about air roll in the future. If you guys are interested, let me know. I'd be down to do that. Skip replay is X. This is all my right stick here for the camera swivel. Scoreboard, this is an interesting one. I do not have a scoreboard bound to my controller. So if I want to see the scoreboard, I have to press it on my keyboard. And the reason why I do this is I feel like mid-game, if you're constantly checking the scoreboard, you're going to get in your own head. And it's something that works for me, and it's something that every single time I bring it up, people are telling me it's a good idea. Some people like to check their points and all mid-game, but a lot of the times you're just going to, get in your own head, like, hey, I don't have enough points. Oh, brother, now I got to start, doing weird things to get points, right? That's just kind of weird. Besides really save replay and reset shot, there's not too much left. Right? Those are just personal things. And then, for knockout mode or for free play, that is pretty much all that I've got there as far as controls go. Interface, the most important ones here, these two are on 100%. Nameplate scale, this is just if you see your opponents, their name above their car is defaulted to 100%, which is just the normal size. I like to have it slightly bigger just so that I can see my opponents a little bit better. Right? If you find you are losing track of where your opponents are or your teammates, right, turn that up a little bit more. That's important. Nameplate mode default, match notifications all. I don't like having these on. And then force default team colors. I personally like having this on. It means that if I face up against some random team, their goal isn't going to be like pink or brown. All right, it was something that was cool back in the day, but when you're trying to be competitive, it's nice to have that consistency. Notifications during gameplay. Since I'm a streamer, I have to have this turned off. For you, you probably would want it on, but it pretty much means if someone is sending you a friend invite while you are, in game here, it's not gonna like pop up in the corner. And so for me, I have people that like to try to mess me up, so I gotta turn that off. Team colored boost meter, I got that on. It's cool to have the boost meter blue or orange depending on what team you are. Metric, I'm from USA, so I do not use the metric system. Depending on where you're from, that's what you got. Ball cam ball cam indicator and ball arrow, I would highly recommend to have on, especially ball arrow. What this does is, if you see to the left of my car right now, even if I don't have ball camera on, it is going to show where the ball is, and it comes in handy every once in a while. It's not something I look at every single time, but say the ball is in the corner and you're wondering like, hey, what's going on? I gotta go for this back boost, and then all of a sudden you see the arrow like shoot over that way, right? If you don't have ball camera on and you're trying to get the boost, you know that it's going to be to this side of you now, and you can play for that. So it's something that just helps. There's no reason to have it off. Performance graphs, I don't have these on. These are the things in like the top. I'm not trying to have that mid-game. And then these bottoms are just for trading and friends, not really too much. Moving on to video settings here, I play on 1080p. And the higher quality of the game, you know, the better I can see everything, so that just makes sense. Full screen mode. Vertical sync, I would turn off. This is going to make your game look slightly smoother, but if you're competitive, it's going to give you a little bit of input delay. So if I am pushing a button, it takes a split second for it to actually go through. So I'd recommend turning that off. This I would have off. It makes it so you have higher performance, right? The higher performance is always going to be the way to go, you know, if you're trying to be competitive here. Render quality is the only one really that I would recommend having on high quality. If you have this on high performance, this is what it looks like. You don't want this. All right, it doesn't really have too much of an impact, but you know, for the rest of this stuff here, just looking for performance is the way to go. I have a 360 hertz monitor, but since I stream on 240, just so that it's not like overbearing. But whatever frames per second your monitor can display, that's what you want to have this on here. That's why I would recommend having it on. You have this on, you know, lower when you're trying to move around, everything's going to look very, very, very stuttery. And so it looks even worse for me because, you know, 240 FPS is what I'm seeing, but a YouTube video can only be 60. So this is like 4 times higher, more pictures per second, right? And then render detail, this is just like an overall thing, right? So if I have this on high quality, it's just going to like check all the boxes here. So I have it on custom, which happens just by turning stuff off. Go back to what I was on before. Texture detail, like I said, high performance, it's not going to make a difference. It's going to make you play slightly higher performance, right? This again, performance, particle detail, performance. This is just controlling what the game looks like. And if it's not going to make everything look horrible, might as well have it lower. High quality shaders, I would have this on though, just to be able to make it look slightly better. Kind of contradicting myself, but this is what I use and this is what 99% of people use. When you have the shaders off, it's just going to make, if you look in the background here, it's just a preference thing. It makes things look slightly more, I guess, barren, right? But it's nice to have a little bit of pop just to make it look a little bit smoother, right? Everything has that little bit of smooth feeling and it's not going to make performance too bad. All of these in the middle here, again, just makes your game look better. However, it's not really too big of a deal. All right, if you want to have a monitor off, it doesn't make a huge difference. The only one I would recommend that you have to have on, transparent goalposts. If you are in the goal, you want to be able to see through the goalpost, right? To see the corner. So if you're defending, you need to see over there. If you have that turned off, right, now you have like a big wall in the way. You can still kind of see it, but depending on what map you're on, it's going to be harder to like actually see through that. So you just turn it on and everything's all good, right? You can see straight through it. Then the rest is just audio settings, right? This is what I got. These are all, you know, based on your system. Chat settings, this is what I got as well. If you don't want to have any people quick chatting you, you can very easily just turn these off. But I like to have a little bit of fun every once in a while. Talk to my opponents, talk to my teammates. That's sort of deal. And that is all the settings here. I am now going to show you guys some presets. But if you need to go back in the video and copy down any of them, feel free. That's what works for me. That's what works for a lot of other people. And I would highly recommend using something similar to what I am using here. All right, moving into decals now. Assuming a lot of people watching this video might be new to the game, I am starting off with a lot of really simple designs that a lot of people will have access to. And then moving forwards, we will go into the more complicated and more, you know, unique and iconic decals and designs. Starting off is the Octane. This is the simplest design anybody has access to. It is a default Octane with no decal. And then it is this blue, this orange, and the wheels that it starts you out with, normal OEMs. This is a classic car that you'd be surprised a lot of people will actually still use as you get higher up in the ranks. It's just so clean, so iconic that people actually, you know, will still run it. On the next note, this is kind of the same deal. It's the exact same colors as the Octane, but you do have the stripes decal. All right, same exact deal, but with stripes on it. This is another clean decal that a lot of people will have access to. After this is the Monster Cat decal, which out of all of the common decals that you start out with, I'd say is personally my favorite. The Monster Cat decal I actually still use to this day. I'll use a couple different paint finishes, but these are the colors that you can use right when you get the game. You should have access to all of this, and it is a really clean car. I am actually a huge fan of the look of this one. This is Octane with Gale Fire. I find that this comes off super, super clean with like a bright color, and then black is the secondary. A lot of these are going to be anodized pearl. That's the paint finish that I'm using for all of these. It's that blue, bottom left black, that pink, and then bottom left black. The wheels are black tunicas, which I find are really, really, really nice looking. Right, they have a lot of black going on. I'm a big fan. Boost, alpha boost, and trail, classic trail. And so this is, you know, a very common thing. Just alpha boost, classic trail. That's a lot of these presets. Next one is the Croatia with the white Zombas. It's funny because I'm not Croatian, but I really like the decal. If you played the World Cup events here, you'll have access to these Nike decals. If you didn't play them, you won't be able to like actually have the decals. You can't get them anymore. But a lot of these are super clean, and I'll show you more in the future. If you're on PC, you can just use Baka's mod, of course. But white Zombas, you know, alpha boost, classic trail, you know the deal. I'm not going to show alpha boost, classic trail every time, but that is what you got. Next up, this is the AJ Formal. This is a car that, like I was saying, half and half between me and other people. This is AJ's fancy formal. He's got the fancy formal decal, and he's got the cobalt Zombas. And something about the black and white and then just random color on the wheels, it looks really, really clean. This is a car that I've used once or twice. Comes off super solid. Next up, Slurpee. Some people probably have no clue what this decal even is, but yeah, it's the Slurpee decal. You could get this back from a 7-Eleven event, just called Slurpee, and I combined it with normal Zombas. I feel like it comes off clean, and then these are just the colors on it. Alpha Boost, classic trail, that's the deal. This one's called Symmetry, and yeah, you know, a little bit of a pun. I like to think of myself as a funny guy. Got the white Dominus, it's a asymmetric decal. There's a little bit of a joke there for you, but out of all the Dominus decals, I really don't use Dominus, but this one is just too clean. All right, the asymmetry where you have one on either side kind of looks like a clown car in a way, but I'm a huge fan. If you're wanting to pick it up, there's the green, there's the purple, it's glossy paint finish, there's the deal, men, and then white Zombas. But my goodness, like this decal, I really just love it. It's such a unique one, and so I had to make a preset with it. I call this one the Sip Zombas. This is a car that Sipical used to use. Sipical's been a pro player for a while now, and so I stole his car. It is matte blue and matte red. The secondary colors don't really matter. And then default Zombas. Super, super clean car. Just simple. I feel like simple cars like this, you can hit the ball and, you know, feel really, really accurate with them, right? If you're feeling solid, put on a car like this and you go crazy. This is another super classic one. This is the MG88 with the white Reapers. You've probably seen this one like a million times, but if not, is the MG88 decal. It is the darkest blue, darkest black secondary, dark red, dark black. This preset's been around for ages. White Reapers, and you know, it's been around for ages, but only because it is so good, right? Only because people, you know, are liking it as much as they are. This is the neural network car. There are a lot of different variations of this one, but this is one that I've just created. It is a fully matching neural network. Right, this decal came from the Rocket Pass. As you can see, there is a ton of different ones of them. It's a really, really, really clean car decal, though. As far as the Rocket Pass, you can probably get it for cheap, and the things that you can do with it can, you know, come off really, really nice. I like to fully match it with some Reapers. Right, some other people like to do something a little bit less matching, but I find this one comes off fantastic. There are the colors, and then Crimson Reapers, Sky Blue Reapers for this side. There you go. This one's Stipplegate. I believe these colors came from AJ, and it is the top right for the blue team, top right for the orange team. Easy enough. Black market decal called Stipplegate. I remember when this thing first came out, people went nuts for it, right? Just pretty much a full black car was unheard of. And so that went nuts. Again, black tunicas, this sort of combination goes really nicely. Next up, Batmobile. It's just the Batmobile. If you don't have the Batmobile, you won't be able to use it. This is something I'll only really ever use in private matches, just because I feel like having a Batmobile to go for cucks pinches, pretend to be Cuxer, old name in the scene. But really, really, really interesting car. It's actually funny. I don't think I've even won a game with it. Yeah, I really I'll only ever use this in free play, but it's still cool to have. It's an iconic car. Next up, I call this one Dark, and I've had this preset for a while, but I've only ever used it once or twice. This uh, this decal will pop up in the future as well here. I've got a couple more with it. This was a tournament reward back like 4 seasons ago. So if you've got it, you've got it. I've got a purple painted one. You can use a normal painted one. But purple painted Serene Sakura goes crazy, right? And I like to put some blue branches. That's what the secondary is. It was this blue anodized pearl with the primary, this blue, but it's matte paint finish. And then same deal with the paint finishes on the orange side. I really like this car. I feel like this decal is so underrated, and combined with matte, it comes off really clean. I've got just basic OEMs coming in. OEMs are just a solid, right? It's a default wheel. Everybody's got it. And, you know, can't go wrong with that. This is my SSL mobile. I'm not going to go through too much, but you just sort through whatever Supersonic Legend rewards you have if you got them. I just like to have a little bit of a flex car every once in a while. This one's kind of clean, even though the wheels are funky. This is the Beef Mobile 3, though. And oh my goodness, this was my baby for so long. I used to use the Fennec so much. As you can see, I've got 12,829 wins on it. These colors on this car, I probably used this for like 6 months straight. This was the Beef Mobile 3. So it is that blue with that pink. Anodized pearl, carbon fiber. I don't think the secondary paint finish matters, but carbon fiber is just a cool name. So I use that. And then top right on the orange and that blue. And oh my goodness, man. Got the black tunicas again. This car was just so clean. Like seriously, if you've been watching my stuff for a while, this is such an iconic car. Next up is the Peak Mobile. I use this one. It's funny that it's named Peak Mobile. I probably use this for maybe 2 weeks. It gets the job done for sure. All right, if you're looking for some inspiration, it's kind of a unique take on your bands. There's a lot that you can do with your bands though. If you're interested, I would highly look into, you know, finding designs with it. You can do a ton with it. If you're interested, I got that matte primary, that color, anodized pearl, that color, and then, you know, matte, anodized pearl. And then I have the OEMs, but I don't have it like matching with the car. I've got pink on the blue side, and I got blue on the orange side. I really like it. It's a car that if I use Fennec more, I would totally use it. But I think it's pretty cool. This one's called the Beef Locker. It's called the Beef Locker because when I was playing in Twitch Rivals, one of the casters called it that, and it kind of stuck. All right, black Fennec. It is a lime dune sweeper for the decal. And then top right for the blue. That blue, I think it's the same colors as the last one. And then one down into the left there, and that blue. And normal Zambas here. I really like the look of this car. Right, something moving with it. I think it might have been Joyo or Vatira that used to use this car back in the day, or at least this preset or decal, is what I'm trying to say. And since then, it's been popular for sure. And up next, this is Cat. I think this is another AJ car, super iconic one. This is Monster Cat decal. All right, just a classic common decal. Everybody's got it. I got the darkest blue anodized pearl with black matte, darkest red anodized pearl, black matte. Got black Zambas. It is a super fast feeling car, and definitely one that has been used for a while. Up next is the Momstang. This is my mom's car. I'm not actually going to give the details for this, but when my mom played on my PC, she created a car, and this is what she was looking at. So yeah, there you go, man. Not going to give this one out though. After that is the Sunset preset. It is so nice. This one was tournament rewards for last season. I have a Crimson Sunsetter on the blue side with these colors, and I'll go back for the orange side. These colors here with the Sunsetter and Lime Zambas. It's a super complicated preset, but I feel like this is one of the best ones I've ever come up with. And going into the other side, you have a just default Sunsetter with this pink and this yellow, and it matches really nice with pink Zambas. And again, such a clean car, for real. Like this car goes so nicely. I used to use this for like a month straight. This blue side was my favorite by far. Up next is the LJ car. I copied this from LJ, currently plays for Space Station. Really nice car. You know, he's one of the only people that ever used this. It's the Rap Star Remix decal with just a bright pink and a bright blue, and then dark wheels. I think I have black octane as well. It's a really nice bright kind of neon popping car, so I'm a big fan of that. Up next, I call this one the One. It's a take on the Fennec, the French Fennec out here. Just anodized pearl and glossy. That's the purple. That's the pink. That's the pink. That's the green. Called this one the One because when I first got Alpha Boost, this was the one that I used it with. Alright, Black Tunicas. I really like this car. Again, if I used Fennec more, I would use it 100%. This decal is the decal that I got my highest rank ever in. I think at one point I was number 3 in the world with this car. Again, it is the Serene Sakura purple painted. And oh my goodness, man. It's like, I feel like I'm the only person that's ever used this decal. It just goes so absurd. Blue side is simple, a little bit low key. But the pink side is just, oh my goodness, man. Like, that goes so crazy. Default OEM wheels. I love this one so much. Next up, this one's the backup. If I'm ever feeling weird, I'll just toss on the backup out here. Or I've got the Octane. It is the Miko decal. Anodized pearl. Poon matte. Or the black there. And I haven't used this more than like a couple times here, but whenever I needed it, it was there for me. This is a really clean decal here. This is the Octane with the Nike Air Zoom Mercurial CR7 decal paired with the white Zombas. You cannot go wrong with this car at all. I used this one for probably a month straight and it went nuts. Next up on the same sort of page is the Brazil decal I was talking about earlier. Brazil decal and lime Zombas. Really nice here when you have the, you know, the colors matching, especially with a Brazil decal. I feel like Brazil decals are just fast. Next up, we have the French Fennec. If you've ever heard that term, this is where it comes from. It is a Fennec that the French people like to use. A lot of people in the one scene were using this car. It is just, for whatever reason, the one that, you know, whenever you're trying to sweat in 1v1s, people will go for it. And it's a very classic car. And then last but not least is the one that I'm using currently. This is the Octane Roadkill decal. And I've been using this for about a week. It feels so nice. The colors come off really clean. I feel like this mint green is super underrated as far as the color. And I think this is one of the best presets out there. I came up with it myself. It's nothing crazy. It's just so nice in the game having a little bit of colors clashing with each other. I feel like it helps you to, you know, see the ball better. And those are all the presets I got. That are the main ones that a lot of people are using, plus some of mine. And then earlier in this video, we had the settings. I hope you enjoyed. If you're looking for anything more, comment it down below. I can probably make a video on it, but this was really fun to make. So I hope you enjoyed. Take care. I'll see you around on the next video, man. Take care.